Please jump in, say hello, tell us a little more about you.
My name is Bob Wolf, Director of Operations for the Rohrman Automotive Group, and I cover 5 stores in the Chicagoland North Market. And they kid around, they call me the Director of Wisconsin because I have the one Wisconsin store right over the border. I grew up in the business in the Chicagoland market. I spent a lot of my time with the Napleton Automotive Group, and I spent a lot of time as a used car manager, as a new car manager, as a general sales manager, general desk manager, and salesperson. Probably I'm around 600 used vehicles on my platform right now, and the 3 stores that we partnered with originally with Rapid Recon, those are probably just right over 300 in terms of what's on the ground usually there.
So you're dealing with a lot of cars, a lot of moving parts, and you were kind of going crazy about it. You're having some problems or some trying to figure out a better way to do it. Is that what you said?
The 3 stores I call it the Arctic Circle. It's the farthest realm of the Rohrman Automotive Group, which spans Indiana, Illinois, and the one lone store in Wisconsin. The 3 stores up in I call it the far north, they consist of a Nissan store that is a newer point historically and moved its market location years ago, and a Volkswagen store that, obviously Volkswagen, it's a great brand. They're growing. We're super excited about what Volkswagen's doing, but historically for us, it was a challenging store. And then we have a Hyundai store up here in Gurnee. All those stores collectively didn't really have a great process for managing recon. We had our cars coming from Volkswagen and Hyundai, which is about 20 miles, 15 miles south of Kenosha Nissan, going into Kenosha to do light body work, PDR, ding dent, tires, headlight restoration, photos. We have a photo booth up there and detail. And so really to manage the workflow, probably the reason why there's a lot of software tools out there that could help dealers manage their workflow when it comes from the used car recon. I've seen a lot of people with recon processes, but I've seen not a lot of them on paper executed, right? Recon tool or some sort of recon system, software is essential. Used cars are melting ice cubes, which we know they are. And for example, the average holding cost is around $60 per day. If you're running a $3,600 round trip, which we'll pound our chest and say, hey, I'm running almost $4,000 a car. We don't really realize that you can only hold that car maximum for 60 days at $60 a day at 3,600 round trip just to break even. After doing all that work to pay the transport guy, to have him stand fishbowling you in the showroom to tell you, hey, you need to check on delivery on demand and stock the car in and get it ready and get it photoed and buy it and pay the auction, and everyone gets paid, and you pay the salesperson, and the dealership nets out $0. So a lot more people really should pay attention to the recon speed, because it's a hidden cost. It's a hidden fee. It's like going to having a brokerage house and they're charging you 2-3% to manage your money and telling you did a great job because you got a 5% return, but you don't really have much left.
It sounds like 60 days might be the kind of the industry standard or average. Is that fair or not fair?
Well, I think when you look historically, 60 days seems to be the mark where a lot of traditional dealers will set a hard turn at 60 days, some 90. But maybe that is where it came from sort of NADA guidance at 60 days. But do the math. I mean, if you're not making 3,600 a car and you're running 2,500 a car and you get to your holding cost is $60 a day, you're losing money well before 60 days.
Does the 60-day clock start when the check is written for the car? That's my first question.
So Dennis calls this time to line or rapid recon. They call it time to line. And I think I talked to so many car guys and they all just want to sort of like, well, it doesn't start until it gets off the transport truck. That's really how old it is. And you can go round and round and round and be here. You put money on it. The money is rotting. It's depreciating. It's starting from the minute you put the dollars on the transaction. So I think, when you start talking about time to line, that's Dennis's most important KPI. I mean, there's nothing really truer than that. How long does it take me to put money on a car and get it entirely through its process and on the front line to sell it?
The carrier is focused on cost of insurance, cost of the truck, cost of the trailer. Your holding cost is the cost of holding that vehicle. That's why at that 60-day point, if it hasn't moved, now you're throwing good money after bad. One way or another, we need to move this.
Yeah, if $3,600 is your round trip on a used car, meaning front and back, meaning front end gross profit over your costs and finance profit, raw gross, we're not even talking, that's your profit, $3,600. And you're at 30 days, that's $1,800. So if you're running $2,000 a car in 30 days, you're breaking even essentially. So You 60 days may be too long.
This money that we're talking about is typically attached to, associated with what I believe car dealers call a floor plan. Is that right or wrong, or where am I at there?
We're talking about used cars, and most car dealers have a floor plan on used vehicles. Some dealers pay cash for their vehicles, but you have your lot holds X amount of cars, and that space is worth X amount of dollars. And so when you talk about holding costs, you're talking about your overhead and your expense. Your personnel expense is heavily tied into that number, and then your depreciation. If you are floor planning your cars and you have that interest factor, that overhead to factor in, and even if you pay cash for your cars, you have an opportunity cost that you're losing by holding on to a spot or holding on a car way too long. So I think the opportunity cost is big to me.
We were talking about Vehlo and Rapid Recon and how this, the restructuring, what you're all working on.
Yep.
Dennis, you want to take the microphone on that?
We're working hard on how to take these two companies and, kind of create the best possible going forward alternative. We've added a lot of dealers to the base. We've got some really great things coming down. Both products are really excellent. There's some differences, and so we're trying to figure that out, how we're going to make a lot of money. And also the Vehlo model, which is very unique in terms of how they reward people and how they grow the business. They've got a lot of other, businesses that are complementary. So what's really cool about this is we're going to have some solutions that bridge fixed and variable, and nobody's got anything like it. So that's super exciting.
There's one technician, he's going to be working on Bob and Susie's car, changing the brakes, doing the oil change, maybe putting the new transmission rear end in it. Meantime, he's doing that in billing, right? Because he's the technician. He gets paid by flag hours or something like that, however they get paid.
Yep.
So he's getting paid because he's doing Bob and Susie's or Bob and Sally's car, or whoever they are. But then we've got the cars that came in from the auction that Jay and Ty dropped off, different deal, and he's tired of having to keep up with what he's doing, because some of these techs, tell me if I'm wrong, but aren't there some techs that actually have like 2 bays that are like theirs?
I think that some of these techs can probably do 3 things at once, even though they are not in 3 places at once. I have it on some authority that they actually can do 2 things at once.
DMSs didn't really have a management system for managing recon workflow, not only just from the mechanical side, but all the way through the whole chain. If the car's melting from day one, like we talked about, like I put money on the car, it's rotting now or melting or whatever, then you got to have visibility into that whole chain to be able to find the efficiencies in that process. So that's the magic, I think, of a tool like Rapid Recon. But what Dennis is talking about is a tech who's working on in one system, for example, like a DMS, but now they're logging in, doing duplicate work in Rapid Recon.
Bob buys a lot of cars, and I think didn't we decide, Bob, with your stores that you buy primarily online? Is that right?
Right. Multiple sources. And then, of course, we're buying off social media, Facebook, and we're actually at one location, we have a transport truck that will go out and pick up cars, and they'll do that anywhere we can do that and pick that up out of someone's driveway and cut them a check.
So you probably remember the days where you only sourced your inventory from 3 places. That was auction on Tuesday, auction on Wednesday, auction on Thursday.
Yeah, and those interviews with if you're interviewing somebody and that's your strategy.
Today's dealer is buying cars maybe from an auction, and if he is, it's primarily going to be online, and it's going to be probably not the same auction every day, every week, every month, every year. It's going to be where I can find the car, like, I think about Sky Hallman, One Auction View. I want to buy all Camrys, huh?
Depending on the day of the week, he's one of our best buyers, and who you talk to. But I would say overall, he's really pretty good for an outside buyer. He starts his day at on East Coast time, then he moves Midwest, and he ends Pacific Coast sales. So pretty much he gets the full scope of any auction that he needs to hit with 9 monitors, 9 screens from morning to day to close.
Wow.
So you're talking about.
I want to see that in action.
Vehicles can come from anywhere.
Now you're buying off Facebook. You're buying out of the service drive, the lane. You're even doing that to the point where you're paying somebody to come in and teach your sales guys how to appraise a car in the lane and buy it.
Yeah, or have a strategy. A lot of times it's just who's your guy doing that? Like, I talked to so many of my dealers, and they're like, yeah, we have a strategy. We're buying from the drive. I'm like, well, how do you do it? Well, this guy does it one day sometimes, and we do it. I'm like, hey, did you know you can go here and push a button and see all your cars in an equity position over the next 12 months? And man, we can send them an email, we can send them a text, we can call them, we know when they're in the drive. Are we working this?